Hi everybody, welcome to Sexting, a sex-positive presentation for parents. It's a guided discussion. My name's Angel, you see them pronouns. I'm the Vice President of Aspec and one of the original founders. Aspec is a nonprofit organization that offers education that is sex-positive in order to combat gender violence or violence based on intimacy. And this is just one of many of our workshops. Make sure you check it out on the website. Before we dive in, I just wanted to clarify what sex positive is, because there's a lot of questions about what we might mean about this. So as it's one of our frequently asked, here we go. So for us, when we're talking about sex positivity, we're referring to having an attitude that consensual sexual interactions, sexual diversity, these things are all normal and natural, and that consent is the key part. And we also dismantle ideas around body shaming, around stigmatizing people for having experienced assault, those kinds of things. It's not about being sex permissive or thinking that sexual assault is okay or that it's only okay for some people. So let's dive in. First, what is sexting? The dictionary describes it as sending sexually explicit messages or images by cell phone. I would add over any kind of social media or technology, because nowadays we're not limited to cell phones. And cyberbullying, which we will be talking about quite a bit here, is when we use electronic means to make somebody feel like crap, basically. So whether we're posting threats or sharing their content online. And this is an important thing to think about as it is happening more and more. This study here is based on 2008. The statistics have actually remained pretty solid on it, thanks, I think, in part to ongoing education around sharing other people's images and stuff, and also into law. So teens that send nude photos, 8 out of 10 will send nude photos of themselves before being 18 years of age. And ones that are sending sexually suggestive messages are actually lower. So more teens are sharing pictures of themselves than are sending sexually suggestive messages. So they're not sexting the way the Gen X and boomers were. They're sexting in a completely different way where they're just sharing pictures. 5 out of 10 teen girls say that they've received pressure to send sexy images to guys. In the gay community, men experience way more pressure, like 9 out of 10, to share images, and in the lesbian community, less. Teens that have had sexually suggestive messages originally meant for someone else shared with them was about 4 out of 10. And teens that think sending these messages could result in them going to jail, this shows 7, it's actually 7.5 out of 10, think that they could actually go to jail for sharing a picture or a message with a consenting partner. This is their belief. So we might want to focus on the potential consequences of sexting as parents, because, that can include a lot of these things, right? The photos can get shared, be disappointing for the family, be embarrassed, you get expelled, you can get bullied. How about college and university applications? You get a bad reputation. What will this mean for your sisters? You get a criminal record. You can't get it off the internet. I hear that one a lot from parents. Once it's out there, it's always out there. Also about it impacting future jobs and future relationships, and also what it could do to your self-esteem. And I know this is all really true to some extent, and then and they're real concerns, they're valid concerns. I understand your concern on this. However, it also creates a situation where a teen is being shamed for something that is a really natural curiosity. Back in the boomer days, this was done behind the school or under the bleachers. Now it's being done over technology. But having that curiosity and that libido where you want to share these things is a real normal experience to have, especially in a society where we hide away bodies until we're being intimate, right? And this shame can lead them to not be able to talk about to us, their parents, when something goes wrong. And as you can see from the statistics, things do go wrong. And so rather than be like, oh, just don't do it, maybe we need to talk about how to do it, and also what to do with pictures we receive, and what to do if things go badly. So this is a lovely article with strategies on how to deal with sexting, and it's a great news story. Highly recommend it. So I have it here in your handouts for you to go through, but we're just going to take a little boo at it here if it loads. Right? So we need to equip them, it says. So if you have a teen, probably they have been sent a nude image, and it's probably probable that they've actually sent an image of themselves. Like, they're relying on a lot of the same studies and stuff that I am. But they're talking about what to do, so that we talk about it in that cyber world context, right? So if they're only ever told to deal with not doing it, they're not going to learn how to do it safely. And so let's do that. First, to do that, we need to talk about consent. And when we're talking about consent, we are talking about an agreement to do something that happens between all the people involved. And so if somebody's sending me an image of someone else, that person definitely did not consent to me getting that image. And I need to be aware of that and the ramifications of taking part in something that doesn't involve consent. And then we also need to talk about what the law says. And this is really interesting because people quite often talk about they don't want their kids sending pictures because child pornography. And yet, making child pornography, absolutely, here's the laws right here, possessing it, distributing it. I couldn't find a single case where these laws were levied against teenagers sharing consensual photos or videos of themselves with their partner or receiving them from a partner. The only times I've ever seen these laws come out in all of the CanLII database, which is the database of court procedures, is when it was shared without consent or when it was an adult sharing pictures of a child. So before we start talking about how our kids are going to go to jail for life as sex offenders for sharing a consenting picture with a partner. Okay, there's also voyeurism laws. So if you publish or distribute something of a person knowing that the person did not consent, you could be charged with this. And there's some new ones now too, also because of cyberbullying, that they could be charged under, but there's not very many cases for me to look at to see how it's being applied yet. Criminal harassment is also something you get charged for if you're sharing it without the person's consent or if you're threatening them online. Uttering threats you can get charged with, like using social media to threaten to hurt someone. Intimidation, trying to get them to not do something that they have a lawful right to do. Like if you threaten repercussions if somebody reports the offense to the police, for example. There's extortion, threatening to do something if somebody doesn't send you a pic, which has come up quite a few times. There's an interesting case in Calgary a couple of years ago where an older person threatened to cause problems for a younger person, and they are now doing time. Okay, there's a new offense for distributing intimate images without consent that gave the police more power to access online information, and it strengthened the language related to Section 162 around the importance of consent. So it puts those principles of the 2001 ruling that protected consent and sex into the criminal code. All right, so fear and shame-based messages simply aren't working. So what can we do? We need to consider teaching them about healthy relationships and normalizing sexual curiosity. This link is also in your handout. Teach them how to respect boundaries and expect others to respect theirs. We do that by modeling consent, having open discussions without judgment, and remembering that sexual curiosity is normal. But we can teach ways to stay safe and how to develop mutual trust and respect, how to recognize red flags, how to be somebody who is safe to engage in those kind of activities with. Now, if a picture or video is shared without your teen's consent, there's things you can do. One, you can report it. Okay, the police quite often will go and actually delete it off a person's phone. Um, you can, you know, talk to a detective and also engage in self care. And remember that although it feels like the end of the world, that there's a lot of support for this kind of thing. That's happened to a lot of people. You're not alone, and there is a way through it. Okay. Um, you can be there as an unwavering ally to your teen. Now we're gonna shut down the PowerPoint here and open up the discussion room. So if there's questions and stuff, we can have a conversation around that. It's a lot of information, and if there's things we need to go back over, that's cool too.